You still have those folks who are out there vehemently saying that old school is better than new school. Again, every sport has its evolution.
Every sport.
If we try to win in this game, we wouldn't because we don't know how to play it. Not to diminish the fact that do they kick as hard as we do? I don't know.
Mhm.
Probably, maybe stronger, but for us, again, we weren't trying to score points. We were trying to inflict pain because that's how we thought we would win.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of A Black Belt Way of Life. I am your host, Master Joseph Lupo Jr. And today I am honored to have as a guest of this show, Master Coach Jeff Pinaroc, joining us from Texas. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
It's my pleasure to have you. Obviously we're wearing matching clothing tonight, representing the USA Masters team. And a big reason why I wanted you to come on is not just because you're an amazing individual, but we have an official USA Masters team seminar coming up in a few weeks at my dojang in New York, Bayside, Queens. And you're going to be there as well with your lovely wife, Heather. And I can't wait to have you, sir.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We always love it coming up there.
Yeah, good Taekwondo and good food. That's
For sure.
and for me, that's family. An old saying that my father used to say, family is at the dinner table. So marrying that alongside, our love for Taekwondo, for me, it just makes for a beautiful thing. And that's really what I feel USA Masters team is about. It's about that camaraderie. It's about being together as a family. How do you feel about that, sir?
Absolutely. I mean, again, when Vincent Vincent was the one who kind of introduced me into this. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know what the
Yeah,
USA Masters was.
and a past guest of a Black Belt Way of Life.
And then Trinity and said, Come watch this tournament, right? Just come watch, help us with this tournament." And I go,
Mhm.
"Okay, see what this is about." And I go, "This is completely different than what we're used to doing."
Right.
Me and Heather, we used to run the Texas State tournament for years, right? And so
Mhm.
going from that type of tournament to this pretty laid back, but it was like, okay, we're not hurting kids. These are
Right.
adults. They know exactly what they need to do, where to go. And so it was like, I like this. We like this a lot. It's a little more, we're getting closer to the end of almost retirement age. And like, we need easy things or
Right,
easier
right,
things,
right, right,
easier things.
right.
Right. So
And but again, that's the template for that, the foundation for that was set by, our amazing captain and the founder of the USA Masters team, Master Trinity Tong Osborne, and it's been our job and to be honest with you, and I tell this to her all the time, it should be our privilege to want to promote, the USA Masters team, because athletes at our age, the way I see it, health is wealth. And if this inspires us to stay healthy, that means more than any medal. That means more than anything.
for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
when I looked around, I go, these are people that I used to either compete with, compete against, and so to have the opportunity to coach, and it's like, okay, sure, man, I'm all in. Let's go.
Right. It's good stuff. And we're going to dive deep into that tonight, along with talking about the upcoming seminar. But first, make sure to check out our official apparel company, Best Martial Arts, Muto USA. All their information is in the show notes. And a special thank you to Mr. James Kim, who just sent out all the amazing swag for the upcoming Spain Masters Championships to those amazing athletes that Coach Pinaroc will be coaching. Also, KickFit, a awesome looking Taekwondo shoe, BBWOL at checkout for a nice little discount on that. Now back to Coach Pinaroc. We here at a Black Belt Way of Life, and I say this every single episode, it's all about the journey. It's all about, inspiring those watching, making them, not only love the art of Taekwondo or any other martial art that they are following, but just life in general. So you as a long lifelong martial artist. Let's start off. Let's talk about your journey. How did you get your start? What inspired you to step into a dojang and start kicking and punching?
It's a funny story. So it's we grew up in Chicago. And before we lived in Texas. I was born in Chicago. We grew up in Chicago. I
Yeah.
have a brother and a sister. Both of them black belts. My older brother, he's Dennis. Everybody should know who he is because he was competing the same time I was. We lived out of the city, so we lived in the city when we grew up, and then we lived in a suburb outside of Chicago. And we went to a Catholic school,
All right.
and this kid was picking on my sister.
Ah.
So my mom said, "Well, I'll just break it down. That's why we started Taekwondo. 'Cause my mom wanted us to be able to protect my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually found a school that one of my friends was already there. So me and my brother started. I got to my yellow belt, and my brother quit. He said, "Oh, I want to play basketball," but I kept going. So I stayed in that school until I was a red belt, and then we moved from to Dallas in I think 83 or 84.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already red belt when we moved to Texas. The way that we found the school is my mom had my uncle send down a telephone book, and she said, "Let's just look through the telephone book and just put her finger on where it lands."
Oh wow.
So you know we
For
didn't
the
know.
young audience, for the young audience watching, that's the old school internet.
That's for sure. The yellow pages.
Right.
So um, so it happened she picked some school called Lee's Taekwondo. Now, if you, the story is that okay? If you don't know who Lee's Taekwondo is, it's the lineage from this school alone. I'll start where. Let me tell you who I came in to train with right off the bat. Dong Lee,
Past guests of this show.
Greg Tubbs,
Wow.
Clay Barber. These were the guys that I was training with, and then later on, you'll find out that James Villasana was also in that program.
Yeah.
So out of that program spawned multiple national team members and multiple Olympians. So
Right.
out of my again, just by happen chance, we picked the best school in Texas. If not
There you
that,
go.
there was a time where we had every division covered as adults, right? So in the adult division, senior divisions, fin fly, band and feather, light, welter, middle, heavy. We had
Wow.
every division covered. So again, as I look back and I listened to Master Master Lee's, when he was talking about it, it brought back a lot of memories and say,
Yeah.
and that's a long time ago. But I did have a conversation with Clay Barber a couple of months ago, out of the blue. He's still around making movies,
Mhm.
and Greg Tubbs, we talk all the time. So it's hard to explain that how I was able to find myself in a place where you just if you go back and say, wow, there's so many people, so much history in our school alone. We all
Right.
broke off and did our own thing, but we're still connected.
And that brings me back to another past guest, someone you know very well, Mark Williams. And in our episode, he said it perfectly. You have to be lucky to find the right school. Of course, back then there were less schools, not like today that there's probably a taekwondo school, probably within every 5 miles, maybe less. I mean, where I am, maybe a mile apart, sometimes blocks apart.
Right.
There's taekwondo schools. I know back then in the early 80s, it was few and far between, but still, you had to be lucky to fall into the right school. And you struck gold.
For sure. I
Yeah.
mean, our bond and our tie is Grandmaster Lee, right? And so we always, no matter where we go, no matter who we come in contact with, we always know that we came from Grandmaster Lee, and he was, back in the '80s. I remember there was a article in Black Belt magazine, and it was I think Clay and Dong were on the photo, but it was a Grandmaster Lee champion maker. So
Wow.
I can't. I wish I had that the article because I want to read it again. Let's see what because again I go back. That was 40 years ago.
Right. But what's beautiful is when I speak to guests, and we talk about these beautiful memories, it feels like yesterday. but it's crazy how you said 40 years later, but that bond that's created through taekwondo, through all those hard trainings, and I'm sure the trainings were rough and they were much tougher than the competitions, especially with the names you just brought up.
Absolutely. I mean, again, for the most part, Clay was my training partner, right? We were around the same division, and we just want. I mean, and again, we would do train 6 hours a day. I think 2 hours in the morning. I would go to school, train 2 more hours, teach all the classes, train another couple hours, and it was
Right,
just.
right.
I mean, I did that all through high school.
Hmm.
So it was again, but again, so as I was in high school, there a couple of those guys were already in college, so they were sleeping in. I was having to go back to school. So
Right, right, right. No, that's great stuff. Now, speak to us a little bit to the audience that might not know, especially even some members of the USA Masters team that started competing at a later age, which is a phenomenal thing about the Masters team. But with that being said, like many of those athletes, they only know you as Coach Pinaroc.
right.
They don't know you as the athlete. So talk to us, a little bit about your competitive history, your accolades. Tell the audience about that part of you.
Sure. Again, I started off in a school. It was North Shore Martial Arts in Morton Grove, Illinois. This is a suburb out of Chicago. Um, it was kind of a mixture of Shotokan karate and
Okay.
Taekwondo. So the commands were some commands were in Japanese, some of them were in Korean. So I kind of went to two, I went to point style tournaments,
Hmm.
but I also, competed in Olympic style as well. My first tournament was a national tournament, was AAU nationals as a blue belt. I
Wow.
can't tell you what year that was. It's at least some 40 some odd years ago. But I just love competing, and so I was just fortunate. My first nationals out, I won, right? And so I caught the bug really early,
Hmm.
and so, but then that year after we moved to Texas, and so then I started training with Grandmaster Lee and Dong and Clay and them, and so, but then I got my black belt. So my next competition, national competition, was back in Chicago,
Oh wow.
ironically, and so I got to see all my old friends, and they're like, well, and they said, well, you're different, right? Something changed between blue belt to black belt, and
Mhm.
I won again. So for a string of, I think I won nationals, junior nationals 6 times. But as I moved into senior division, I was doing dual. So when I turned 13, I was actually competing junior and senior.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was in '87, and then '88 nationals, where I think we're in Miami, and I had was fortunate to win bronze. I mean, but that was an Olympic year, the first Olympic year for Taekwondo.
Hmm.
So I qualified for the Olympic team trials, the youngest, and I'm again only like my second year as a senior. I'm thinking I don't really belong here, but so I'll tell you my draw at team trials. My first fight was Dae Sung Lee.
Oof.
10 times he was the
Yeah,
king of the Finway division at the time,
exactly.
and then up and comer Juan Moreno, right? So back to back fights I had Dae Sung to one, and back then it's like it's mathematically impossible for me to win if I didn't win one of those fights.
Right.
And again, I was like, I'm not even supposed to be here. So I just enjoyed the moment. But then again, that kind of kickstarted
Sure.
my senior career, right? And so from there, I didn't do a whole lot in the senior division. I was always it was always in a division. Well, back in those days, you would have 6 players who could win at any given day, right?
Right.
In each division. I mean, we would fight 6, 7 times to medal sometimes.
Right.
So
Something that never happens today.
I mean, I don't want to compare it today because it's a different time,
Right.
but it was brutal, right? It was brutal. And back then, it was to make a finals. It was 3 rounds, 3 minutes. There was no win by two, whatever. It was 3 rounds, 3 minutes. And if you try to fight 3 rounds, 3 minutes in Colorado Springs in altitude, that's a totally different game,
Right. Correct.
right? So again, most of my career was spent, success was as a junior, some as a senior, but really I think where I really felt like, okay, I got to a certain point where my knees broke down. I couldn't do it anymore, right? I think my last time competing as a senior was in 96,
Right.
and I started in 88. So not a whole, or 87, not a long career, but back then we brutalized our bodies. It was
Right, correct, correct. You
we
know, for the
didn't.
audience listening, this is not the electronic scoring, generation that is today. This was the impact. This was, hard shots, in order to score.
I mean, not to downplay, because with every sport there's evolution,
Of
right?
course, of
And
course. No,
each
we're not
athlete,
downplaying at all. It's a different time.
but it was, remember, the definition of a point was a trembling shock, right?
Trembling shock. There you go.
And so, and everything was a point. So it didn't matter if you kicked him in the face, you kicked him in the gut, it was still 1 point. But
Right.
I think the mentality, at least from my standpoint, and Vincent will probably back me up on this, is that we weren't trying to win the fight. We were trying to end the fight.
Right.
So,
Correct.
and that was the mentality going in. I probably, and me and Vince will go back and forth in this. Who has the most amount of knockouts in our little group? And I still say it's me, but he can argue. So
Because back then, you were kicking to knockout. You weren't kicking, to touch your opponent.
that's right.
It so it makes a big, and so obviously why you saw so many more knockouts. And again, we're not getting into a conversation of saying which generation was better or whatnot. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's like, just recently I heard, you know again, it happens in sports all the time. They talk about the GOAT, who's the greatest, this, that, LeBron or Michael. Different generations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Michael Jordan had to play against the Pistons. you
That's
know,
right. That's right.
LeBron James, different story. Both great players, but different generations.
I mean,
One might be a better athlete, one might be a better player. Back then, I feel in regards to Taekwondo, there were more fighters. You
absolutely.
know, as in, if you were out now to take it into a martial art context, fighters back then could probably defend themselves on the street.
For sure. Absolutely.
Today, I don't know if we could say that.
Yeah. I mean, I made it through almost every division, right? So remember, when I said before, I was 13 when I started fighting seniors, which means I had to get a special waiver. I had to sign a special waiver from my parents and to do all that. And
Yeah.
so I think Finn, I was in Finn weight from 87, 88, 89. I went to flyweight. 90, I was in bantamweight.
Mhm.
92, I don't know how long. I mean, I actually went Finn, fly, bantam, feather, and then my final year as a senior was lightweight. And that at that weight, I was like, I'm too short for this division.
There you go.
And so I'm just, I've done what I can do. I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish.
Hmm.
Later on, we got into, Doug Fuchel started this pro taekwondo,
Right.
which back then was pretty innovative, I guess.
Hmm.
So I did a couple of those, and that was like, hey man, they're actually going to pay me to fight. Sure, I'll do it.
Right.
So,
Right. Now, how did you like that? Because the pro taekwondo was obviously marketed as no equipment.
right.
It was no headgears. I mean, you guys were wearing shin guards and forearm guards, but that's about it.
Yep, that's it. And just, and then we had colored uniforms, but really, honestly, it was a different type of fighting, because it was for, I mean, again, for different players, we had different sets of rounds. Like for myself, I had 6 rounds.
Mm.
And we were on an elevated platform, so there was no. I mean, if you fell off the platform, that was mine. I mean, this was the first time the introduction of multiple points for different techniques, right? And so,
Hmm.
and then if you fell off the platform, you got -5 points, and so there was like people were trying to wrestle each other off the
Yeah,
platform.
yeah, yeah.
It was pretty intense in its own right. Right. I mean, again, were we kicking hard? Absolutely. But I think when we're training in the dojang, sometimes we don't train with a hogu or anything. We just shin and instep, and we're
Correct.
going at it. So it was different. But again, we were also catching players that were at the end of the careers. It wasn't like we weren't, in our 20s trying to do it. Maybe we were, some of us were,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but it was a different style. It was different. It was a different way of doing it. And to be on pay-per-view, I'll tell you what, my whole family, all my friends were watching it. I was like, this is a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
No, it is. And my students still watch the videos to this day. I loved it. I loved watching it. Back then I was a junior watching all these seniors that, I would, I grew up around watching, seeing them throw down. It was a lot of fun. Oh, it was great stuff to watch. Now, so now we're hitting the tail end of your competitive career.
Yep.
Talk to us about your coaching success.
So I started coaching when I was young too, right? So like I said, we would train, and then we would teach. Then I would teach help teach all the classes, and then train again. And then so as we were doing this, I was kind of coaching already a little bit when I was 13, 14 already, but really wasn't until I had my own dojang that I really started really getting into more coaching, like at the higher level. I didn't wasn't an aspiration to be any kind of coach. I wanted to help my students, and so be it. That I did have a lot of players come out of my program that till this day. I mean, I have tons of national champions, but it started back. My daughter, and was taking. She wasn't my daughter at the time, but she was the captain of our team, and then alongside her was Stephen Lambdin.
Mm.
So Stephen Lambdin came to my school when he was 5.
Oh, wow.
He had aspirations of being a Ninja Turtle. Okay, I think it was Ninja Turtle, something to that effect. But then he started competing. Honestly, he wasn't that good. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't. He couldn't break through. Let's
Hmm.
say that. So for 7 years, as he was competing as a junior, and then he started competing as a black belt. The first time I think he competed as a junior. He was 13 when he actually was in the cadet um, division. He's lost every nationals for 7 years or 6 years prior. So the seventh year, he wins his first match, and so he's like, "Oh, this is okay. This is cool." Second match, third match, fourth match. Now he's getting into the medal rounds, and then I'm talking to his parents. I said, "Do you know if he wins this final match, he qualifies for the national team?" They're like, "What? You didn't tell us that." I go, "Well, I'm telling you now that
Yeah.
if he wins this next match, he'll be on the national team." And that national team traveled to Greece for the World Championships. Ironically, my first junior national team, I went to Greece for my first trip to as a national team member.
Oh, wow.
So come full circle, you come
Hmm.
back and you go, hey. But again, he was green. He lost to Korea. I think he lost to Korea. Didn't do very well, but he came back with a vengeance. So the one thing about Steven is that he never gave up, right?
Right.
And so if you see him now, I mean, obviously he's gone on to make 22 national teams. How many national
Right. From
teams?
from Ninja Turtle to Olympian.
Yes, right. So then Olympia, and now he's the Olympic coach. So and I look back and we talk about this all the time. I go, man, you were 5 years old when you started, and I talked to him a couple weeks ago. So
Mm.
we still have the conversation. We still talk all the time. Sometimes about, hey, I need some advice about something. So he's still calling me and sometimes it's just to shoot the bull. We're just
Right,
talking.
right, right.
What's going on with your family? And so, because he doesn't live in Texas anymore, right? He lives in North Carolina.
Hmm.
And so it's again, and so he Stephen is really the person or helped me become a better coach
Okay.
because he didn't have success right away, just like I didn't have success right away. So we kind of navigated the whole national scene and then the international scene together. So come 2005, this was the first time I was actually appointed as a national team coach for the junior national team that went to Aruba. Again, Stephen was on that team. My daughter was an alternate. So it was one of those things like come full circle moment. I'm not only just coaching you at these local tournaments. I'm now coaching you at an international tournament at the Pan Am Championships. So I had all these milestones along the way, and Steven's been a big part of it. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. And I always find it really interesting. I've spoken to so many high level players and athletes, not just in Taekwondo, but across many sports. And so many of them, they all lost in the very beginning. And I've spoken about this many times on the podcast. We learn more from losing than we ever will from winning, you
Absolutely.
know, and then I'm sure you've seen it too. Do you feel sometimes when athletes win quickly, they burn out faster?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because and the thing is sometimes they and especially if they do it twice in a row, right? And then
Mhm.
they think that, okay, well, this is easy. Try to do it three times in a row, and then because exponentially harder because you don't know what it feels like
Correct.
to lose. You don't know what it feels like to have adversity. And so, I mean, think about it. If you look at there, I can name several players that I won't say that here, but I mean, I've known several players that had a lot of success, and then all of a sudden you just never seen them again.
Right.
So it's the ones that have stuck it out, the ones that have been there for years. I mean, even ourselves, right? And I think back, I go, I'm looking at players on the Masters team that back in the day they were really high performers, and now they're back again. They're doing it at this level later in life.
Mhm.
I envy it because sometimes I get the bug and I say, I could do this. And then I said, no, I know better. So
Right, 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 right. Your mind tells you one thing, but your hips and your knees tell you something else.
for sure, absolutely. And then coaching the Masters team is a totally different feeling altogether because
Right. Talk to us about that. You actually just took my next question out. Tell us about, I had the honor of being with you on that trip to Korea in when we fought in Muju. Talk to us about your feel of being a coach on the US Masters team and its significance, to the state of Taekwondo here in the United States.
well, the first thing that struck me at all when I first was introduced to the Masters is just the camaraderie that was always there. It didn't matter if you were fierce competitors before, after, currently. At the
Mhm.
end of the day, we could have a beer after
Correct.
and just hang out. And so, but it was just the way that people rallied around each other. I don't know. It's just a different feeling because again, when you're at the other levels, at the senior levels, everybody's isolated. They're just kind of doing their own thing. Nobody's because they're trying. I mean, again, they're in their zone. Even they can happen in the Masters team too. But the thing is that once it takes everybody. Almost, it's not just one player. It almost feels like the whole team is fighting at the same time.
Mhm.
Right? And that's what struck me the most is that God, this everybody's just together. There's just so much camaraderie. It's almost like this is the anti what we used to tell our people before. It's like
Right,
stay
right.
isolated, stay in your own place. And so I think that's different. And again, also being older myself, like I don't have the patience anymore to have to go through the steps that I had to do. I mean, I
Mhm.
can literally. I mean, do I give tips and I give advice? Of course I do,
Sure.
outside. But I can just step into a ring right now, and whoever is I'm coaching is looking for that advice.
Oh,
They may have been a world champion in their heyday, but they still want that voice, that vision, that person that can see things that they can't. I mean, i.e., Damien, right?
mhm.
Damien's a former world champion. We're sitting at the Asian Master Games in Taiwan. He's going against Taiwan, right?
Mhm.
He's got to beat him twice. So, first match, he had him pretty easily, right? Second match, something fell off, right? So that third round, I was like, okay, it's time to go back to basic, go back to what we know. So even though he's a fantastic coach himself,
Mhm.
still he still wanted somebody to guide him, right? And so for me, it's like there's no ego here, right? You just know that you need help.
You just hit the nail on the head. The USA Masters team, the whole event, and the people that come, it's egoless. We you can't, because in all honesty, you won't fit in.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's not just the tournament; it's the seminars, it's
Correct.
every event that we have together, and I think that's the draw, right? People come in, they feel welcome almost immediately, right? And so, I think what Trinity has created is something that can't be duplicated anywhere else. It's
Hmm.
just organically become something bigger and bigger every time we do it, right? And so, I really want to evangelize this thing because it's never too late for you to come and do this because I'm
Correct.
looking at everybody who's doing it, and then, I mean, you still have passion for Taekwondo. A lot of us are that are competing. A lot of you guys are competing. You're still instructors. You're still coaches,
Yeah.
right? And so it's like, it's one way, win or lose. This is another way you can motivate the younger generation.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my school is, living proof of that. And I've brought it up many, many times on this podcast. I took an older age athlete to the first ever Masters Cup as a colored belt to now 4 years later making the actual team as a black belt. This is someone who started Taekwondo simply because he brought his children to my school
Right?
and said, "Hey, this looks cool."
You're talking about Mr. Orsino, right?
Of course,
Yeah,
it's his story. I've said it so many times because it's inspirational,
absolutely.
and I see the seminar that we do in New York, and I'm seeing more James Orsinos.
Right.
I see guys that started the seminar as color belts now trickling towards the black belt division again. Started Taekwondo at a lot of them because their children did it and
Right.
they wanted to be around their children,
Yep.
and it's just amazing to watch and amazing to feel. And for someone who is doing Taekwondo at a later age, in all honesty, I think you're crazy not to want to be a part of this.
For sure. But but the thing is, it's not even just isolate to here, right? In the U.S. Well, it is to our team, right? Because what I'm saying is that when we travel, whether it's to Madrid, to Taiwan, to Korea,
Mhm.
we walk in and people are like, "Oh, that's the USA team," right? And so
Right.
whether by past they know us, but it's just the way that we walk in together, the way that we are always working together. It's I mean, I know I've been on several trips now. We're the envy of the tournament. People want to be like us,
Oh yeah.
right? And so and this
I'll
is
be
how
honest, sir. I, I have bought extra shirts purposely because people at every event ask me for my shirts.
for sure.
I remember when I was in Mexico, no exaggeration, sir. I brought 6 shirts, and everyone came up to me, and a couple of them, I didn't even ask for anything in return. It was just my pleasure to give it to that person. And it's been on. I want to say almost every trip I've had the honor and the pleasure of being on. It's great. You hit that nail on the head. This logo that we have on, it carries weight.
Absolutely. And it's not just USA, it's USA Masters. It's this group specifically that when we walk into places, people are like, okay, there they are, right?
Hmm.
And it's cool to feel that, right? And I mean, and the reason why I'm saying is because I've been able to witness it over and over again. So the
Hmm.
ones who just see it for the first time, the next time, we have some veterans on this. I mean, it's funny to say we do have veterans on this USA Masters team. I'm not one of them, right? I came in late in the game almost,
Hmm.
right? And I kept hearing about this Spain, I mean, about this Italy trip over and over again.
Correct. Correct.
Never can never duplicate it. I said, yeah, but we're gonna try to get close. We're gonna try to get close.
We will. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That I was on that Italy team, and it was a phenomenal, phenomenal time. But you are correct. I feel we could do better, and we will get better. But that trip did lay down the foundation. It definitely did. But I think every team, every trip has just become more and more and more memorable in so many ways.
For sure.
Because again, the camaraderie, and and it starts from the top. You know, it starts with, you know, Master Trinity and the amazing coaches like you. I could honestly say, I actually, because I bring in so many athletes to the tournament, so I've never competed at the Masters Cup
Right.
this past, but this year I don't know what I got the bug and I said I'm gonna fight, even though I'm coaching, I'm gonna fight. You know, and I remember, uh, it was great. I won, but then you came to me and it felt so good to hear your critique on how I did. It's again, it's, you know, we look up to you as a coach. You know, you as an athlete, as a coach, you laid the groundwork for us. So any of us, when you speak to us, we're all gonna listen. How, you know, you brought up Damian Villa. Me, I'm you tell me something, sir. I open my mouth and I say, yes, sir.
I mean, me and Damien have history. He was on the same national team that I became a national team coach for the first time in 2005 with Steven.
Wow.
So full circle moment. It was like 20 years later. I'm sitting in his chair, and he's like,
Sitting in his
"This is
chair.
this is cool." I said, "This is very cool, not just for you, but for me too." So
Right, right.
I mean, when you go to the World Masters games, it's almost like you're at the Olympics.
It is.
And so, how do I know? Because I've seen what the Olympics looks like, and it's very. I mean, I get the same feeling, right? And so, it's it's hard to explain it, but you just have to experience it, right? And so, I encourage everybody to go to these seminars, go to the tournaments, and we can talk about it all day. Just come see for yourself.
No, you're right. You have to experience it. You have to, you know, drink the good Kool-Aid, as I like
Yeah.
to put it, you know.
I mean, all this has done is help me, become closer to people that I haven't, Trinity, Vincent. Me and Vincent, we grew up in Texas together. He's kind of one generation removed from me as far as competing. So I was kind of retiring as he was coming up. And really the way that we connected is through Texas State, right? And so, but then Masters. And so we've been together. So again, for the last few years, I'll tell you, before 10 years ago, ask me to go to Houston, I'd say no. I don't like going to Houston. I hate going to Houston. And so, but now it's like, it's a all the time thing. I'm either at Vincent's house or they just left our house a couple nights ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, we've formulated this bond with, and it's not just because of, you know, because of the our past. It's really about what we're doing now together. And so, if there's anything that if I were to give up everything, right, and I say keep one thing, the Masters is what I would keep right now. I'd say with conviction, I'd say that.
That's impactful. That's good. And you know, you brought up Vincent. Well, you two guys are going to be together here in New York, because I just got a text message yesterday. My boy's coming to New York as well.
He was sitting on my couch booking his flight.
Oh, wow, there you go. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. You know, oh, I can't wait to have you all in my school in a few weeks time. It's great. Like you said, it's so hard to put into words sometimes. I stutter sometimes when I talk about the USA Masters team, because I don't have the words for it. You see it in the pictures, you see it in the videos, but that doesn't even serve, you know, justice to what it really is about. You know, where do you see the USA Masters team in the future?
I mean, again, it's one of those things that when I first started, it was still fairly kind of new and fairly small, right? And I
Mhm.
mean, but I've seen it every year get more and more and bigger and bigger, because when we do the seminars, when we do the tournaments, it's the same people, but then there's a couple more people. There's a couple more
Yes,
people. There's a few more people, and
I'm
so
experiencing that right now. For the New York seminar,
yeah.
there are people who signed up. I don't even know who they are. They've never attended a Masters Cup, or I've seen, and I've been there since day one, or a seminar. And I think that's the greatest thing. It's like I can't wait to meet these people.
For sure. And even the partnership with AAU, right? So the AAU national team, some of them went to
Mhm.
Taiwan. I've never met any of them before, but I guarantee you, there's a few of them that say, yes, we're going to keep going to this Masters thing, and we're going to bring more people with us. I just see it getting bigger and bigger. And again, it's whatever Trinity's vision was, it is going to be bigger than I think what she first envisioned it to be
Mhm.
from the Italy trip to now. It's just already grown that much, right? I mean, so to me, it's like it's not just about how many people; it's just the movement that's happening. And then so when we talk about all these tournaments that we can go to, Asian Master Games, World Masters Games,
Mhm.
it's a draw, right? And then and even the World Masters Games, they're posting USA stuff on their site, and so it's
Right.
like we're now. I mean, I feel like the USA Masters are the rock stars of Taekwondo right now, and so it's just exciting to be part of.
No, it's a great way to put it. I mean, I already have people asking me, "What do we got to do to prepare for Japan for next year?"
Right.
I'm like, "Oh my God!" When did you ever, as an adult athlete, think about something a year ahead? As adults, we're worried about what we're going to do this tonight,
That's right.
tomorrow morning,
That's
but
right.
now we're mentally and also physically preparing for a year ahead.
Right.
And the way I see it, that's another year of health. And again, I say it, health is wealth, because the USA Masters team keeps us active and keeps us going. It's from a health perspective. I mean, you see it. You know, a lot of us, we. I mean, I could speak for myself. We show up to a competition ready to go.
Yeah. It's no longer those days when as we got older, I said I'm gonna suit up. I'm gonna go fight this tournament, and I haven't trained in whatever how long.
Mhm.
We know that though we can't do that, right? Everybody knows you just can't do that anymore.
No, you
You're
can't.
but the thing is, you're motivated in a different way, right? You're not. It's almost like you want to push yourself. You want to push yourself to the limit, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Let me see what I can do. All right. And so
Mhm.
you're basically competing against yourself, not your younger self, just your
No,
yesterday self.
exactly, and that's where the humility comes into play.
That's
You
right.
know, I tell guys all the time, as much as I train physically, you have to also be aware of your body. You have to be aware of your recovery post training, post competition. If you want to excel at this level, because man, some good competition, not only here in the United States, but those guys from Spain, and
Right. For
then
sure.
when we were in Mexico, I was like, man, these guys don't play.
Right.
It was great.
I mean, I know they have this designation when you have, this track and you have this track, that sometimes those lines blurred and it doesn't really matter because again, if we go back and you think about how we used to compete, right? And how much that stuff is still to me, that game is still alive in the
It
masters.
is.
It's still alive in the masters programs, right? Because okay, if I tell my kid right now, go hop back parachagi, they're gonna say what, right? And so I go, it's like one of those things that go do this cut kick back kick. They're not doing all that, right? And so it's like I can say that now, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about,
Exactly.
and because it's almost like muscle memory.
Hmm.
And the thing is, that's not any different for any other country. They're all doing. You're not gonna. Very rarely are you going to see a lot of front leg fighters in the masters divisions.
No, no, no.
They're fast kick, double kick, hop back, rounds kick, all these things that's still in play and it's still alive. And so it's not that hasn't so that part of the game is still strong, and that is my forte. That's why I feel like I can coach this because I know that.
Exactly. You know that well,
So
very well, much better than most. And, you know, just recently I had a conversation with someone talking about, you know, the new school way of fighting. And I was like, come watch us masters fight. And it'll make you feel better.
yeah,
It'll warm your heart, you know.
you still have those folks who are out there vehemently saying that old school is better than new school. Again, every sport has its evolution.
Every sport.
If we try to win in this game, we wouldn't because we don't know how to play it,
Exactly.
right? And so, I mean, this doesn't not to diminish the fact that do they kick as hard as we do? I don't know.
Mhm.
Probably, maybe stronger, but for us, again, we weren't trying to score points. We were trying to inflict pain, and so
Right.
because that's how we thought we would win, right?
Mhm.
Because there was no scoreboard.
Nope.
There was no, I mean, you didn't
It was
know
a
the
piece of
score,
paper and a pen.
right? And there was times when you didn't even know the score. You just knew if you won or lost,
Exactly.
right? And so we couldn't leave it up to the judges. Sometimes we had to take it in our own hands, and so be it. Whatever happened happened. Like I said, it wasn't about scoring points back then. It was really trying to win by destruction. So,
To put it mildly.
I mean, when the rule book says you must displace your opponent with trembling shock, it tells you something, that you have to hit hard, right? And so
Right. Right. But great stuff tonight, sir. And it's been my, like I said, from the get-go of this episode, it's been my pleasure and my honor to have you on. In a few weeks, we'll all be together, like I said, at the East Coast Masters Seminar. You know, that's going to be run by Grandmaster Michelle Smith. I will be there. Master Carlos Villanueva will be running the Pumse. He's a two-time USA Masters team member in Pumse. And of course, our amazing team captain, Trinity Tong Osborne. I love playing host. I love serving everyone espresso and getting down. And
that's part of the experience, right? We got to have
it
the
is.
espresso and your mom's food. So
Oh, there you go. You hit the nail on the head, having Mama Lupo's food next door. And what advice, I think this would be a great way to end this episode. What advice would you give everyone who is attending the seminar for maybe the second, third, or fourth time? And for what advice would you give a new attendee of our seminar? Because we have more than a few this year.
I think I don't have to say it once they walk in, but I would say that leave your ego back behind because it doesn't fit where you show up, and that'll be apparent once they walk in because everybody will be so welcoming. I would say just have an open mind, right? Have an open mind, gather all this much information that you can get because you may remember all this stuff, but some of this may be new to you. But the amount of information or the amount not just the amount of information, but the people who are giving the information, you're not going to get that anywhere, right?
Mhm.
So take advantage of the fact that you're going to get so much more than you think you're when coming in. You'll leave with so much more.
That's great, sir. And for anyone, in the audience or anyone that is, joining the Masters team or coming to the seminars, how can they reach out to you?
They can always reach to me on my Facebook, Jeff Pinaroc. I'm not a big social media guy. I'll be honest with you. My
Mhm.
wife is. If anything, if I'm on a post, it's because my wife tagged me. Um, you can go to our school. Our school website is www.pinaroctkd.com, and you can email through there as well. So
Awesome, sir. And thank you so much for being here tonight. With that being said, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Black Belt Way of Life. Make sure to check out our official apparel company, Best Martial Arts, Muto USA, for an awesome pair of Taekwondo shoes, KickFit, BBWOL at checkout. Again, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions, if you would like to sponsor a Black Belt Way of Life, shoot us an email at a Black Belt Way of Life podcast at gmail.com. As always, the words my father always used, a black belt is worn around your heart, never your waist. A Black Belt Way of Life was produced by Press Record Studios.